let me define what millionaire is to me, what is to us on this show. Being a millionaire is not just having $1 million on paper. It's called net worth millionaire, paper millionaire, because you can't put it in your pocket. Yeah, it's good on paper, it's net worth, it's part of your assets, part of your estate. But in our opinion, the best way to become a millionaire, let me just go over it real quick. One way you can be a millionaire, just like this NFL athlete we're going to be talking about here in a second. You can play professional sports, you can be a CEO, you can have a job, and it'll pay you $1 million. Good luck, you got the right MBA, you're talented, you're highly skilled, highly educated, all this stuff. You can be a hired CEO and become a salaried millionaire. The second way to become a millionaire is what we call fix and flip, or buy low, sell high, or buy a baseball card. I remember my mentor Patrick David bought Wayne Gretzky's 2 rookie cards for $500,000. 17 months later, he flipped it for $2.1 million. That's called a capital gains millionaire. You buy something low, you have to sell it at a higher price. Thing there is you constantly have to keep fixing and flipping or buying low and selling high in order to continue to generate $1 million. The third way is what we call net worth millionaire. You buy a piece of real estate, you have a $2 million piece of property, you have a $1 million loan. On paper, your net worth says your equity is $1 million. You're a paper millionaire. The other way of being a millionaire, you could be lucky. Marry into the right family, marry the right wife, husband, lottery. You can be lucky. Fifth way to become a millionaire, my preferred way to become a millionaire, is cash flow millionaire, because you decide to take a risk, to bet on you, to start a business, to start a service, to start a solution that fixes people's problems. You are now a millionaire cash flow. So Grant Cardone here talks about becoming a millionaire. I mean, Milton, you got $1 million, okay? You got $1 million in the bank. How do you feel?
Although $1 million may have seemed very, very attractive when I was in my late teens, early 20s, I think now it's something that if I'm not financially educated, well, as you said, educated on what to do with $1 million, I would still feel very stuck in my own personal ways. So knowing that I personally will be stuck in my own personal ways and not knowing what to do with it, let me ask you a question, man, especially when it comes down to this specific thing. Mm-hmm. He's saying $1 million is equivalent to basically middle class. Why is it that so many people nowadays, although they're struggling, especially men, the men that are putting their families through this financial struggle by not stepping up to the plate and providing the finances that the family needs, by either by learning a trade or a skill, learning a new business technique that you can implement into your life so you can create more money for their families. Mm-hmm. Why is it that so many men are content living at a minimum wage, working 1 or 2 jobs, taking time away from their families just so they can barely make it through? Why is that a headspace that so many men have pulled into?
It's easier to do. It's easier to quit than to innovate. Mm. It's easier to give up and settle than it is to actually grow. I mean, think about how many people you face in the gym. How many people said at the beginning of the year, Milton, I'm gonna have a 6-pack. I'm gonna fit in this dress, or fit. I want to gain 10 pounds of muscle, whatever the case may be, whatever their goals are. But we're at the gym on Wednesday because it was March 1st. What comment did we make to each other about the gym and it being empty?
It's getting empty again.
It's getting empty again.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing.
It's harder to grow and innovate. It's easier to settle and quit and say, I'm just not going to increase my capacity and let me just settle for this job. It's easier to just work with my hands. It's easier. It's so much easier to do that. Jordan, let's take a look at this article. Can we go to my screen? So if you're in the middle class, so his example here, Milton, is that of this $1 million, they're going to take $48,000 from this $1 million for the next 21 years. And his argument is, you do that, you're broke by the time you're 50. So if all you did was drain your $1 million for 21 years, living off a middle-class income of $48,000, you're out of money in 21 years, assuming that you didn't invest it, mm-hmm. It was just there in the bank, was earning a rate of return. Now, I was on TV in Chicago talking about this FIRE movement, okay? Financial independence, retire early. FIRE, that's what the acronym FIRE stands for. Financial independence, retire early. When we're looking at the average income in America, let's say you're single. Average single income in America is around $35,000, $38,000. If you're married, median household income is about $62,000. If the person is single, marries another person that's single, their median household income will be roughly around $62,000 to $65,000. That's not even enough to buy the average home in America, which is approximately $450,000, $500,000. Mm-hmm. So if you're earning that type of income, you can't even afford to buy the average home in America. So when you're looking at just being a millionaire on paper or just having $1 million in the bank, you know what? As much as I disagree with this guy on a lot of things, he's actually right about this. He's actually right about just having $1 million of liquid cash and you're living off that and it's earning no money. You're not doing anything to contribute or add to it. And all you do is drain. Think about this, $48,000. What happens if an emergency comes up? A parent needs your help. You need to retire your mom and dad. You need to pay their bills. Your kids want to go to private school. You're not making a lot of money from this $1 million just statically staying in the bank. It's got to earn a rate of return. That's why I said the most important millionaire status that you should be aiming for is just not having $1 million in the bank. It should be having a cash flow million, a career, a business, an endeavor, a service, an ownership of something that brings you in $1 million a year. And take a look at this, Milton. Here's an example. I was making $20,000 a year as a sergeant in the Marines after 8 years. Wow. 20 grand. And so I had a choice. I can either be smart and get promoted and retire at 38, 40 years old with a full military pension. That's the smart thing to do. Or I can be wise. Figure out what these guys are doing in Orange County where I was stationed. Figure out what these guys are doing to be getting rich. Why are these guys ride around in the ocean in yachts? Why are they hanging out in Fashion Island, Newport Beach, and Huntington Beach? I remember going to Balboa Island. I don't know if you guys know where Balboa Island is in Orange County. I went to Balboa Island, and all I can afford to take my at that time, my then wife and son is hot dog on a stick and a pink lemonade. It's all I can afford. I couldn't afford it on the rides. We looked at, whoa, cool, can't afford to go on it because we're broke. I had $30, $40, maybe at most. Spending money, I couldn't really enjoy life. So if you're out there, man, to your point, Milton, if people are out there and say, you know what, this $48,000, $50,000 is not enough money, you've got to make a choice. Either you settle and reduce your dreams to match your limitations, or you decide to increase your capacity to match the dreams and how big you're thinking. And you have to surround yourself with the right people and make sure you're in this situation where people are around you, are poking you and egging you. I mean, we were having cigars with Michael Jordan in his grand opening and in Chicago, in Oak Brook. And Michael Jordan was sitting across the table from Richard Dent, Otis Wilson, 1985 Chicago Bears. You know what Michael Jordan saying? Hey, Otis, hey, Richard, what are you guys doing these days? What are you guys doing these days? He's like, Mike was egging him. He's poking him. What are you doing these days? Are you still talking about what you did in 85? You still talking about what you did in the 80s? Come on, man. What are you doing these days? So he's poking him. And think about this. Michael Jordan makes more money from his endorsements and ownership in Jordan Corporation that is in 1 year than his entire NBA career playing 13, 14 years in the NBA. So think about what ownership did for him by being a great player. The phases are you become a great player, you're good at this game, but there's no money in just being a player. There's no money in just being an employee. There's ownership in ownership. The guys that make the most money is not the players that play like Dak Prescott and Justin Fields and all those guys, right? The guys that make the most money is McCaskey's, is Jerry Jones. There's power in ownership. So I hope and pray that in 2023, many of you are thinking more about ownership than settlership. Your thoughts on that?
I agree. And again, being around people like you, Matt, and the people that I've been networking with in these last 2 years and a half or so, it's definitely taught me to definitely take a different approach when it comes down to finances and the way I see money. A couple of years ago, the way I saw money was as a means of surviving and scarcity. Right now, you just literally spoke on how the average household for a single man or single person was about $30,000, $38,000 a year. Mm-hmm. I just sat down with my CPA yesterday. He scolded me that I needed to reduce my spending when it came down to my eating, and he showed me the list of my spendings. And last year, in 2022 alone, I spent roughly around $33,000 on just food. But that involves taking clients out to eat, having them down, sitting them down, X, Y, Z. But $33,000 on food, that's anywhere between $2,500 to $3,000 a month.
Growing up
on food.
What was your mom? What was your parents? What were they spending on groceries to raise you, man? Do you remember?
My guy, no.
Maybe $100 to $200 a month.
Maybe at that.
And you're spending what, $2,500 a month on food?
30 grand.
Yeah.
I used to make 30 grand about 5-6 years ago a year.
It's $2,500 a month, bro.
That's a lot of money.
That's 10 times more than what you were raised in. Well, here's the thing: you're in business. It's a write-off. But at the same time, too, the rising cost of food, rising cost of eggs, and everything we've been talking about in this podcast for a minute. But everybody loves to go out and eat out. And by the way, that's you being single.
That's me being single.
You know what? Sheena and I spend. I have 2 kids that live at our house. We have other people that live at our house. Now, my parents take care of, we're easy, $7,000, $8,000 a month on food.
Jesus Christ.
Think about this real quick. If you want to take care of the people that you love and care about, you're taking care of yourself, you're good. You go out, you're good. You're not worried about signing a credit card because you decided to take the risk, go in business for yourself, leave your job, take a stab in capitalism, take a stab in entrepreneurship, you create your own deal, right? And your brand is growing. You're demanded all across the country. People are trying to fly you out, demanding your services because you decided to take a risk.
Correct.
Many people aren't willing to take the risk. Remember I was talking about earlier, it's easier not to take a risk because of the risk of failure. But that's the benefit of capitalism. That's the benefit of free enterprise. Free to buy, free to sell, free to win. People love the win part, but here's the part they don't want. They don't want the failure part. Here's the bottom line. In my entire life as an entrepreneur for 24 years, I've seen a lot of people come in business. Sadly, I've seen a lot of people quit business. I've never met a winning quitter. I have, however, met winning failures. Meaning these guys fail at something, guess what they do? They get back up again. There's a clip of Michael Jordan talking to parents. He said, listen, so many parents put their stock in one shot the kid wants to take, and you don't take a shot because they think they'll fail, they'll miss a shot. You know, Michael Jordan says, hey, I take shots all the time, and I miss, and I lose games. But guess what? I'm getting back up again, and I'm perfecting that one shot. I'm going to keep taking that shot until it's automatic for me to continue to overcome failures. So if you like that clip, please watch this one right here. If you want to see the full podcast, click right here.